Madam Speaker, the reason Carl Bates' speech was largely incoherent is because the thinking behind it is equally incoherent. The idea that because this is the pearl. The idea that because an employment relationship is a civil contract, then an employer shouldn't be liable for stealing is the parallel of that is if a person working at a bar nicks money out of the till, it's a civil relationship. We don't want that to be criminally liable. Of course an employee who steals from their employer is criminally liable. If they intentionally deprive their employer of property, then they're criminally liable. But this is Mr. Bates' argument. It's all a bit confusing. If the employer intentionally deprives an employee of their property, that's not criminal. The asymmetry of that relationship is typical of the National Party. This is not some complex bill. It just says this. If you steal stuff from your employee, you're criminally liable. If you know that you're obligated to pay, you've got the money, but you intentionally choose not to pay them, you intentionally deprive them of their entitlement to wages, you're criminally liable. And what does the criminal law do? It sets boundaries between right and wrong. And to steal from your employee is wrong. It should be criminal. The idea that it's a bit too much admin, in fact, the member used the term red tape, as if paying your employee honestly is red tape. That is shameful. That's someone, I think, who once called himself an accountant. And yet here he is defending the right of employers to steal from their employees by intentionally withholding wages illegally. This is not a complicated bill. And as for the difficulties of prosecution and what's the burden of proof and evidence, well, that's a prosecutorial decision. And as we know, the Solicitor General has a very fulsome set of guidelines on when to make a prosecution. There are two fundamental elements. Is the evidence there? Does it meet the evidential threshold? And is it in the public interest to prosecute? It's not rocket science. So yes, if the evidence is cloudy, you probably won't get a prosecution. If it's not in the public interest, you won't get a prosecution. But where we have a clear case of an insurer knowingly taking wages from their employee, then prosecution should and will follow. That's why this is a bill that's properly before this House, and I'm hopeful that other parties in the House other than the National Party will support it. I'm sure the ACT Party, who are property mad, will support it, because the right to property is one of their foundation stones. And our former friends, who used to be our coalition partners, New Zealand First, I'm hopeful will stand up to what they say they stand for, which is the rights of workers, as does the Labour Party, and make sure this bill passes to the House. As for the National Party, dancing on the head of a pin with ridiculous and incoherent arguments about red tape and the civil and criminal distinction in employment relationship really shows them up. They should be ashamed of themselves. Very proud that Camilla Bellich has brought this bill to the House. I'm very hopeful we'll see this through to the next stage so we can look after workers' wages properly. I absolutely commend this to the House.
Yeah. Mike.
He knows how to call out bullshit.
That's very solid, the speech right there is from the law professor, from the man who actually knows what he's talking about, Duncan Webb. It's a black and white. It's black and white. We're not here looking to add additional costs to employers. We're not here to add additional legislative burden to the employers. What we're saying here is that stop stealing people's money, employees' money. It's simple as that. If you stop that, and then this bill has nothing to do with you. If you keep stealing, and then yes, you will be caught by this. It's black and white. You don't need to be a rocket science professor to understand this. And the National Party MPs, I would say all of them, when they stand up in this House to speak against this bill, they don't believe a word of what they say. They don't believe on it. And like this senior MP who told me that I'm not sure that we're doing the right thing by voting down this bill, Ibrahim. But good on you for bringing it to this House anyway. So they all feel the same way. But for them, this is ideological. For them, employees stealing from employees, employers stealing from employees, it's fine because employers are their friends. So yeah, it's just simple as that. But at the same time, it's kind of sad.
Interesting point of view. Yeah, I think there are situations. I mean, that what you have mentioned, Ibrahim, and what Duncan Webb say who's important fundamental point. I mean, I like to give credit where it's due. For example, even in the brokerage industry, right, in insurance, the principal consultant, right? He's the one that gets all the money coming first before he pays the employees the commissions. But then because he's in charge of everything, he can actually have all the funds of yours, which is supposed to be partially given to you, which is your commission, use it for anything he wants. And then when there are issues where, like the great financial crisis where all the people stop paying, so you have all these paybacks, then the brokers working the employees will get one big load of debt. Okay, so this is also, I think, one of the issues. So it doesn't even only be employee and employer, it's also even in brokerage relationships where they can let you hold the whole thing, and then you get all the problems and they get away with it. So there's also that side of it that needs to be looked into. Yeah. Even though I'm from the center, but I can see this is also a good bill to look at least hopefully that it does highlight the discrepancies and the loopholes. I mean, look, we don't have issues like that with warehouse, with no liming, right? They really follow all the rules and of payments, regulations. So it's only like what you say, those fly-by-night, companies or whatever.
I like the term. I've been told my business is in a way in that sort of aspect, but then
and also if an employer paid, well, kind of short paid the employee by mistake, by accident, they would straight away fix it. In our collective, for example, in Mecca, was in a cleaning contract with all the employers, it says that like the short pay needs to be rectified within 72 hours maximum. And the employers who make honest mistakes, they fix it straight away. But those who do it with the intention of keeping the money, they muck around. Oh yeah, we'll fix it. It's in Australia.
We'll just carry on the never. Yeah. Okay, let's see what Laura's General Electric MP, Mike Butterick, has to say.
All right.
And see if the people of Eka Tahuna are going to sit down there and call bullshit on it.